Hello and welcome to the She Reads Romance Books podcast, the ultimate show for romance book lovers looking for the best books worth reading. I'm your host, Leslie Murphy, and in each short episode, I share my favorite book list of recommendations so you know exactly what to add to your must-read list. Join me as I explore the romance genre and have fun collecting book boyfriends along the way, because life is better with a love story. Hey readers! First off, I want to say congratulations. Why? Because you have survived another year with another Valentine's Day. We're a couple weeks or maybe 2 weeks past the holiday, but this is one of those holidays where people can get really riled up about it, right? Some love the opportunity to celebrate love and their partner, while others just say it's a commercialized holiday. And I did a little research and I found a Yahoo survey that found that between the December holidays and Valentine's Day, people are more than twice as likely to consider breaking up than any other time of the year. Then there are those who feel so much pressure from the holiday, they can't take it. And so it's a very popular time for people to get dumped. In 2019, Metro UK writer Ellen Scott described the term valentining. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but valentining describes when someone is dumped by someone right before Valentine's Day because their significant other is too tight to get them a gift, write a card, or make any kind of fuss. So she blended Valentine's Day with the term tightwad to make valentining. And I think it's pretty awesome. So I thought it would be very timely to talk about some romance books where love is found after a breakup, but not just any breakup, but one where someone is cheated on, which ultimately ends their relationship. I figure these could offer some positivity for someone who has just been valentined or who may have recently been dumped or, God forbid, ended a relationship because they were cheated on. Let these characters be an inspiration that love can be found again even after a broken heart. So the first book that I'll mention is Love on Lexington Lane by Lauren Lane, which, gosh, that's a total L mouthful. This is book 2 in her Central Park Pact series that follows a young widow whose newfound cynicism about love is challenged by a very sexy, rough around the edges contractor. But to back up a second, the Central Park Pact series focuses on 3 women, Claire in this one, and then her 2 new friends, Naomi and Audrey. It's a very odd way how these 3 became friends. They met on the morning of Claire's husband's funeral and came to find out that he had been sleeping with all 3 of them. Yikes. But poor Claire is the one who is actually married to him, and she finds out that he had not 1, but 2 mistresses. And not that either of those 2 women knew that he was married or had other women on the side either. So Claire is pretty much down on men, obviously, and she's determined to rid her New York City home of anything that reminds her of her cheating husband by redesigning her boring beige Upper East Side brownstone and making it something all her own. But what starts out as a simple renovation becomes a lot more complicated when she meets her grumpy, bad-tempered contractor, Scott Turner. So Scott, he's a pretty, say it how it is guy. He bluntly makes it known to Claire that he only took on her house for a change of pace from the corporate offices and swanky hotels that he'd been building lately. And he doesn't hesitate to add that he has no patience for a pampered, damaged princess with a panache for pink, as he calls her. But when, of course, long work days turn into even longer nights, their mutual wariness sort of morphs into something more. Now, I really felt for Claire in this one. She honestly thought she had a good relationship with her husband. So to find out that that it was all a lie, right, from his perspective, and that he was sleeping with multiple people, she's just reeling from the hurt and the humiliation. And of course, vows to never fall in love again. But Scott is this perfect grump who, again, just tells her like it is and doesn't sugarcoat things. And she ends up confiding in him, though, and shares how she's just going to go out with men casually now at this point to get some. And that ends up driving Scott crazy because, of course, he starts falling for her despite initially saying he didn't like her. Now, Lauren Lane's books are super cute and light, fun reads, and it was really nice to see Claire find love again after such devastation. So check out Love on Lexington Lane, where someone finds love after being cheated on. The next book I want to talk about and finding love after being cheated on is The Right Move by Liz Tomford, which is book 2 in her Windy City series, but can easily be read as a standalone. I probably mentioned this before because I read it recently. It is a forced proximity, roommates to lovers, best friends, brother romance. So Indy is best friends with V. They used to work together as flight attendants for the Chicago NHL hockey team. And one night after returning from a flight early, Indy walks in on her boyfriend of 6 years in bed with another woman. Now, this is a person that she honestly thought she was going to marry. So she's not only reeling from that betrayal and devastation, but now she's in need of a new place to live. So V convinces her brother Ryan, who is a hotshot NBA player, to give Indy his guest room until she can get back on her feet. Even though Ryan is this extremely private person, he relents and Indy moves in. Now, Liz Tomford blew me away with all the books in the series because they're so well written with really great characterization. I loved the banter between these two, where Indy would kind of get on Ryan's nerves because he hasn't or wasn't used to sharing his space or at least with a stranger. And she was like, whatever, my life is in the shitter right now, so just deal, right? But the two end up really helping each other. She helps him with his anxiety around his high-profile life, and he helps her with learning to trust and love again. This was just a super sweet romance, and I loved it, and the fact that Indy found love again after her douche of an ex cheated on her. Now, my third book about finding love after being cheated on that I wanted to mention is Make It Sweet by Kristen Callahan, which is just a really great book about starting over, not just in your personal life, but your professional life as well. And our hero and heroine of the story try to find their way while at this amazing private villa in California. I mean, I would love to escape to an amazing villa and eat French pastries while contemplating where my life was going, right? Count me in. I'll join them happily. But poor Emma is there because she's an actress, and her character is unexpectedly killed off on the TV show that she's on. And at the same time, she finds her boyfriend in bed with another woman. So she obviously needs a break and needs to figure out her life. And sanctuary comes in the form of Rosemont, a gorgeous estate in California that promises her rest and relaxation and reflection time. Then she meets the owner's equally gorgeous grandson, ex-hockey player and current recluse Lucian Osmond, who is struggling with his own demons there at Rosemont. He's initially really hot and cold toward Emma at first, but then they sort of end up having more and more moments that bring them closer together on the estate. This is a great opposites attract romance where both people are at a crossroads and help each other. They don't try and change each other, right? But just be there for one another and show them what is possible. I love Kristen Callahan's books, and so I highly recommend Make It Sweet. About two people, honestly, really starting over, especially the heroine who was cheated on. Okay, moving on to my next book, where love is found after being cheated on, and that is Boy Toy. It's called by Serena Bowen and Tanya Eby, if I say her name correctly. This is the third book in their Manhand series, which honestly are all hilarious rom-coms that I highly recommend. But this one can be read as a standalone if you want to jump right in with it. It features Sadie, a single mom of twin toddlers, who's still really reeling from her divorce after her ex cheated on her with a much younger nanny. So in the present, she's dropping off her twins at daycare, and she runs into Liam, who turns out was a kid she used to babysit as a teen. Now, at that time, he was 14 and she was 19, so the age gap really isn't a huge one in this romance. But Liam had a huge crush on Sadie as a teen, and that has not gone away, even though he's now 29. And he basically ends up offering himself as tribute, as her boy toy, to get back into the pleasure game, so to speak, after her divorce, since she's been in quite a dry spell. Now, you totally feel for Sadie in this one, who's just trying to keep her head above water. And then she's got this guy basically offering himself to her and being the most amazing preschool teacher ever. I mean, I loved Sadie, but man, you will fall hard for Liam and just how great he is with her kids and just how capable he is with kids in that age. He knows people thinks he's crazy for his career choice, but he doesn't care, right? Because he loves what he's doing and he loves Sadie and is definitely out to keep her in this romance. This was a 5-star read for me, so I highly recommend Boy Toy. Now, my final recommendation for books about finding love after being cheated on is Not My Kind of Hero by Pippa Grant. This book made my list of best romance books of 2023, so it's not the first time you may have heard it from me, but it's just so good that I had to include it on this list as well. It is a small town romance that fans of, say, Things We Never Got Over series by Lucy Score would totally love. Maisie is one of those female heroines who's barely hanging on with her life in shambles when she moves to her late uncle's ranch in Hells Bells, Wyoming. She's divorced her husband by this point, who cheated on her after devoting 6 years of her life to his home improvement show that really took her time away from her daughter as she was growing up. And now, with another family secret scandal casting its shadow over her and her daughter, they're just sort of desperate to start over in this new small town. But, things aren't so easy when her relationship with her 16-year-old daughter is tenuous at best, and she has run-ins with bears and other wild animals, and starts running herself ragged trying to get in good graces with the townspeople before her past can catch up with her and her daughter. Plus, there's this little dilemma that she is attracted to her neighbor, who is also her daughter's teacher and soccer coach. So that's a lot on poor Sadie's shoulders. But I love when heroines aren't quite perfect and have struggles that a reader can identify with. Oh, I said Sadie, but I meant Maisie. Maisie is basically starting over and is devoted to being the best mom that she can be for her daughter, right? While also really trying to find herself. Flint, who is her neighbor and the guy she is definitely attracted to, he was a great man who proved to be just a great neighbor to her and helped her out many, many times. And just a really great teacher and member of their small community. But he has his own personal struggles in this book that I appreciated and liked learning about. I loved their growing tension, and boy, was their chemistry hot. I highly recommend this one. It was so good. Not My Kind of Hero by Pippa Grant. Okay, so that wraps up today's recommendations for romance books where love is found after being cheated on. You can find more on my list on She Reads Romance Books, so you can be sure to click the link in the show notes below because I offer more than just these 5 books. And then to wrap up today, I am going to continue my game of Name That Book Boyfriend. In my last episode about Black romance books, I gave you this clue, which I'll share, to have you think about who the mystery book boyfriend is. Okay. So This book boyfriend is an introvert who lives in a small town in Ohio and works as a teacher. He'd much rather stay home reading a book, but has taken a trip somewhere different over the last 12 years. One trip where he ends up sleeping in a tent on an island, and the man ends up falling for his person, his complete opposite. So can you name the mystery book boyfriend? And drum roll, please. The mystery book boyfriend is Alex Nilsen from People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. So if you guessed Alex, then you are correct. Well done. So proud of you. Now I'll give you a new clue for the next mystery book boyfriend. This one might be a little bit harder. I'm sort of upping the ante a little bit, but for folks who've been following me for a while, then you might get this actually easily. We'll see. So this book boyfriend grew up on the wrong side of the tracks and fell for the girl with money. But he ended up becoming a self-made man who buys and sells companies at the drop of a hat. But he's also a man who seeks revenge. But then he realizes he is still married to the woman who stole his heart. Can you name this book boyfriend? I wonder. Stay tuned for the next episode where I will share the answer. Until then, thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope that you're enjoying the podcast because I love talking about books. So hopefully you out there are enjoying it too. But in the meantime, until the next episode, happy reading because life is better with a love story. That's all for this episode of the She Reads Romance Books podcast. I hope you enjoyed it and found some new books to add to your TBR list. If you did, please subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. It really helps me reach more romance book lovers like you, and I appreciate your support. If you're a book boyfriend collector like me, then you'll want to join my email list so you never miss a podcast episode or a new book list. Just visit shereadsromancebooks.com/join and sign up today. As a thank you, I'll instantly send you my list of top 10 book boyfriends that will make you swoon. Trust me, you don't want to miss this list. Thank you for listening, and until next time, happy reading.